All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Wow, things have gotten so bad so quick for the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, it's only been a little bit more than a month since the Mavericks made that deal that shocked the basketball world when they agreed to trade Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers. And at first, I tried to give Mavericks general manager Nico Harrison the benefit of the doubt on the Luka trade, but things have come apart so quickly at the seams in Dallas. I mean, since joining the Lakers, Luka's been putting up typical Luka type numbers. As right now, with the combo of Luka and LeBron, some people feel that the Lakers have what it takes to get to the NBA Finals and possibly win it. And on the flip side for the Mavericks, I mean, it has been a case of Murphy's Law in Dallas. We saw Anthony Davis, of course, who was the other big piece of that trade, come out and start getting busy. And then he got injured, okay? And he's going to be out for a while. And AD might just shut it down for the rest of the season now. Why? Because earlier this week, we saw Kyrie Irving get lost for the season to a torn ACL. And I mean, you look at Dallas, they're 32 and 30, and they're holding on to that last spot for the play-in tournament in the West, okay? But I mean, you just think about how bad things have gotten so quickly for Dallas. This was a team, okay, that 9 months ago was in the NBA Finals, okay? And where has it gone wrong? I mean, we've seen the fan base turn on the Mavericks organization after the Luka trade. We've had protests, we've had fans kicked out of the American Airlines Center based on the signage that they had. We saw the mass exodus from fans, during the game when Kyrie injured his knee. And at the end of the day, there is a huge disconnect between the fan base in Dallas and the Mavericks majority team owner, Patrick DeMont. Uh, Now you're hearing reports of the Mavericks looking to raise season ticket prices right now. And I mean, at this point, all you're doing is adding fuel on top of a fire for those fans. Okay, uh, every time you turn around and say, "Wow, it just can't get any worse for the Dallas Mavericks," it simply does. And for me, if you're the Mavericks, where do you go from here? Because you think about, now I know he's still the minority owner, but you think about everything that Mark Cuban built for the Dallas Mavericks. It is being destroyed. And the reason why I say this is winning is not easy, and winning doesn't happen by accident. But also, on top of that, the culture starts at the top. And you think about what Mark Cuban built in Dallas, because anybody who's old enough to remember where I'm about to go with this, the Mavericks were an absolute joke during the decade of the 1990s. Basically, in those days, if the Mavericks won 30 games, you were surprised. Okay. Mark Cuban came in and turned things around. We saw Dirk Nowitzki get drafted, well, technically by Milwaukee, draft a trade with the Dallas Mavericks, but nonetheless, we saw, the arrival of Dirk. Okay, and it took Dirk some time to get going. But then, having Don Nelson, having Donnie Nelson, the son, and so many trades, so many moves, and before you blinked, the Mavericks were a contender. Of course, it was Steve Nash and Michael Finley, and then of course Dirk, and then they just kept chipping away and chipping away. And again, to get through to the finals out of the West in those days was not easy because you had to go through Duncan with San Antonio, you had to go through Kobe and Shaq, and then Kobe was sick, lost to Miami, came back 5 years later and was able to get that championship. But Luka was supposed to be the guy, and I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but I will say this: it would not have happened on Mark Cuban's watch, and whatever was going down, Mark Cuban would have fixed it. And if Mark Cuban was still in charge, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now because Luka Doncic would be a Dallas Maverick. Okay, but nonetheless, it wasn't just about that because Mark Cuban was a fan. Mark Cuban wanted to win. Mark Cuban was willing to do whatever it took to win. You have a front office regime currently for the Dallas Mavericks that does not feel the same way. And it is a trickle down effect to the rest of the organization and, of course, their fan base. And, of course, when you talk about fan bases, okay, do the Mavericks maybe have a following like the Boston Celtics or the Los Angeles Lakers? Absolutely not. But Dallas is still a big media market. You got the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL, Texas Rangers in Major League Baseball, and then, of course, the Dallas Stars of the NHL. Dallas fans are very passionate. They will show their support when you're doing good, and they will let you know how it is when you ain't doing right. And right now, they're letting this organization know, hey, we don't like the moves that you're running and how you are operating things. All right. And at the end of the day, like I said before, I tried to give Nico Harrison the benefit of the doubt, but history is going to remember him for the wrong reasons. Of course, we know about him being a part of that botched Steph Curry promo or like presentation rather with Nike, and of course Steph Curry went to Under Armour, and the rest is history. But now I think people are probably going to remember this one a little bit more because the way things are going for the Dallas Mavericks, I don't see Nico Harrison having a job there by the end of next season. He'll get this season, yes. But if things go bad and south for the Dallas Mavericks and their fan base, the thing is like it's one of those where he just might be bait to the Sharks right now, and the Sharks being the fan base because they want something to change, and this is not good. Like I said before, it's one of those where this would have never happened on Mark Cuban's watch. Jay Kidd, the head coach, he's just basically thrown into the mix of this because, when you watch Jason Kidd during that press conference, announcing, that Luka was traded to the Lakers. Jay Kidd was basically looking like, he was there, in a hostage video. You're almost looking like, okay, blink once if your family's okay, blink twice if you need help, one of those type of scenarios. And you went from having, and I called them the two-man power trip, arguably the best backcourt in the NBA currently, to now neither one of them are there. And again, they carried you, they propelled you to a Western Conference championship last year, and it has all evaporated so quickly. This is a masterclass on how to screw things up by the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know where they go from here, but at the end of the day, somehow, some way, something's got to give and something has to change in Big D. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off. And I'm saying take care, and thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.